You turned a simple argument into a racist point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my best friend right here. Are you kidding me?
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now you can...
Because it's all a conversation.
So the debate's over, friends.
They are intersubjectively wrong.
So you admit, Mr. Anderson, that they are not absolutely wrong. The Green River Killer is not absolutely wrong. Ted Bundy is not absolutely wrong. Child rapists are not absolutely wrong.
From debating about cis and trans, which I know in chemistry occurs in molecules with the same formula but different spatial arrangements, to debating that some crimes are intersubjectively wrong. These are a few times woke people were put to sleep by Christians either with facts or the Bible. Starting off will be this epic scene.
Because it's all a conversation.
So the debate's over, friends.
They are intersubjectively wrong.
So you admit, Mr. Anderson, that they are not absolutely wrong. The Green River Killer is not absolutely wrong. Ted Bundy is not absolutely wrong. Child rapists are not absolutely wrong.
But it all starts from here.
Because it's all a conversation.
So the debate's over, friends.
They are intersubjectively wrong.
So you admit, Mr. Anderson, that they are not absolutely wrong. The Green River Killer is not absolutely wrong. Ted Bundy is not absolutely wrong. Child rapists are not absolutely wrong.
This debate took an intense turn when the cross-examination began. The activist debater came with confidence early in the debate, claiming that ethics don't need God as a foundation. He argued that meaning is subjective, something each person determines for themselves.
God necessary for ethics. There's been a lot of presuppositional enthusiasm about the Christian God. I have an answer for what happened to the empty tomb, if you want to bring it up in the questions. Where does meaning come from? I am protoplasm, who cares? We could put that on a t-shirt. And what is bigger than us? This group is bigger than us. Once again, objective reality is reality independent of what we believe, like disease.
But then came the moment that changed everything. The Christian apologist wasn't having any of this relativistic approach. He pulled out a devastating quote from evolutionary biologist Dr. Will Provine, who boldly stated that modern biology tells us there are no gods, no ultimate foundation for ethics, no ultimate meaning in life, and no free will, when pressed to respond.
Greater than us individually to answer some of the questions as far as like, aren't there just billions of points of view? Well, yes, there are billions of points of view. But again, we are all part of the conversation. And so in response, yes, even if there is no life after death, even if there is no absolute meaning, that means that there is life before death, and there is meaning before death.
Mr. Anderson, I don't think you answered.
The activist agreed with most of it, essentially admitting his worldview offers no ultimate foundation. That's when the trap was sprung.
No ultimate meaning in life and no free will for humans either. You say that it needs to be meaningful to us. It's at least meaningful to us. Was it meaningful to the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway? Was his determination of what was meaningful for him just as valuable or meaningful as your perspective that he was wrong?
The activist stumbled.
Meaningful is different than defensible. I work with murderers and pedophiles all the time. I have a least favorite pedophile.
Are they wrong?
He's very annoying. Yes.
They're absolutely wrong.
They are absolutely wrong. Or they are technically intersubjectively wrong.
So they're not absolutely wrong?
No.
He tried to distinguish between meaningful and defensible, claiming serial killers are intersubjectively wrong, but not absolutely wrong. And the preacher did not let him even land that statement properly before calling it a closed argument and giving his reasons for closing the argument.
They are intersubjectively wrong.
So you admit, Mr. Anderson, that they are not absolutely wrong. The Green River Killer is not absolutely wrong. Ted Bundy is not absolutely wrong. Child rapists are not absolutely wrong. And you came to debate that your worldview provides a foundation for ethics?
Yes, the humanist perspective does provide a foundation for ethics because, again, rape is wrong, murder is wrong, according to the cultural conversation that we are all of.
The activist had walked straight into the philosophical trap. In his worldview, he couldn't condemn these monsters in any absolute sense, only say they disagreed with the cultural conversation. But it got worse when the preacher asked this.
So if a society draws a circle around themselves and says that you can kill and cannibalize other human beings as long as they're a large enough society that draws a circle around themselves and they determine that it's right to eat other humans?
Some cultures have believed that, yes, and they are part of the conversation.
Is that ethical?
Depends on the context.
So killing and cannibalizing other human beings could be ethical in your system.
The activist admitted that killing and eating other humans could be ethical depending on the context if enough people agreed. The secular humanist had been systematically dismantled. His worldview, when pushed to its logical conclusions, couldn't provide the moral foundation he claimed it could. Without an absolute standard, without God, ethics becomes nothing more than popular opinion, and even the worst atrocities become defensible if enough people agree. Here's a final clip I want you to see.
There is no absolute standard to hold them to. You've already agreed that if they decide as a culture and community that what they did was right, morally right, then they're right in your system. And there's no complaint.
Because the victims would not agree, and the victims also have a say.
The victims,
This next story is absolutely insane and shows just how far schools have gone off the rails. We've got a transgender student who created chaos, then played victim when reality hit back hard.
So it was just right before class, and I was just trying to go to the bathroom, and I got in the stall. It turned out to be broken. It didn't lock, and all these boys were trying to get in the stall. They were shouting slurs at me, and they kept trying to get in, and it went on for so long, it felt like. And then some administrative people came into the bathroom to break it up, and then they blamed it on me for being in the bathroom.
And technically,
Toby decided to ignore the law and use the boys' bathroom anyway. What happened next was predictable. She got trapped in a broken stall when multiple boys tried to get in, shouting at her. But here's the kicker. When administrators showed up to break it up, they blamed Toby for being in the wrong bathroom in the first place, because legally, she wasn't supposed to be there. The mother, Sherry, then dropped this bombshell that'll blow your mind. She said the assistant principal told them that if they tried to press charges against the boys for harassment, that this would actually happen.
By the assistant principal, that if we pursued pressing charges of assault against these other students, that it would actually be Toby that would be facing potential expulsion from school.
But wait, it gets worse. The school had already provided accommodations, a private single bathroom just for Toby, but that wasn't good enough. She deliberately chose the boys' bathroom instead. And here's where the whole victim narrative falls apart. The school did a thorough investigation using hallway cameras and interviewing multiple students. Their conclusion will blow your mind.
the school administration and school resource officer used hallway camera footage to identify witnesses and did a thorough investigation. After interviewing several students, they could not identify any other students who witnessed the student being harassed. The student continues to attend the same school, and there have not been any additional incidences reported. We greatly value the safety of all students. While we can't violate state law concerning student use of bathrooms, we will always...
Meanwhile, over in Oregon, another parent discovered something even more ridiculous. The state was spending $5.5 million to put tampons in boys' bathrooms across all K through 12 schools. This mother's reaction was perfect.
And that $5.5 million, it's a carve-out. So it comes out before they distribute the money to the schools after that. And so considering everything that has happened since the pandemic and beyond, achievement gaps, just education in general, where Oregon falls across all the states for education, the idea of taking this money out for feminine hygiene products, which is available in schools. You may have to ask for them. They're in the office and stuff like that, but they've always been available.
Do you know what percentage of the budget this is for Oregon's education?
The financial insanity became clear when she revealed this money could pay for 30 teachers per year. But instead of hiring desperately needed educators, Oregon decided boys' bathrooms needed tampons.
And the other side of that, if you want to talk about the funding, I would ask, why couldn't the funding come out of, for menstrual products, out of OHP, the Oregon Health Plan, versus coming out of the education budget, which is meant to educate our children?
But is it commonsensical to put these products in every
Yes.
bathroom?
I want to give a two-part response here. First of all, I mean, like we saw in Tennessee, trans boys do need to use restrooms. Trans boys can menstruate, and that's okay. And second,
the debate reached peak absurdity when someone tried to defend putting tampons in boys' bathrooms. Then came the moment when biological reality crashed into ideology.
So to add to your point, this is really important for lower socioeconomic schools. Transgender boys who might not have their own money to go buy tampons. If they're provided free in the bathroom, it's a huge plus.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself whatever you want.
Cis men don't menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body
if you are,
menstruated at
if
some
your
point
chromosomes are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not men.
excluding a whole group of
They're
people
women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men. You are not a man. You can pretend to be a man, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Live your life and tell me what a man is.
When asked to define what a man is, the answer was scientifically simple.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an
The
example
science.
when we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely
They
different
are
things.
completely different.
Completely different words.
But the ideological response revealed everything. Why are we just looking at science when sex and gender identity are completely different things?
And sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion.
This next confrontation is absolutely wild and shows what happens when a college student tries to outsmart a seasoned preacher but ends up exposing her own prejudices instead.
You turned a simple argument into a racist point?
Thank you so much, sir. This is my best friend right here. Are you kidding me?
The student started off complaining about fake Christians she'd encountered, saying some of the most toxic people she'd met were in Bible study groups. Fair enough, hypocrites exist everywhere. But then she made a classic mistake.
Person. Good. Have your own beliefs, but just don't but don't put it into federal law. That's when I have a problem.
Sure.
That's what a lot of the conservative Christians do. A lot of them are like, well, I'm like, I want to stop abortion, but yet they restrict our access to birth control, proper sex education, which is the only way really is proper sex education, really. Educate ourselves. Abstinence does not work.
She went on this rant about conservative Christians restricting access to birth control and proper sex education, claiming abstinence doesn't work. Standard talking points, nothing new. But the preacher wasn't having it and dropped this brilliant response.
Christian, to turn you off to the true Jesus Christ, who did not have a hypocritical bone in his body. Are you going to give a hypocritical Christian that kind of power to turn you off to the true Christ, who did not demean anybody? Instead, in Matthew chapter 23, he uses the word hypocrite 6 times to describe religious teachers. So Christ hated hypocrisy because it's lying about yourself. And it sounds like you hate hypocrisy also. Bravo!
He pointed out that Jesus called out hypocrites 6 times in Matthew 23, saying Christ hated hypocrisy because it's lying about yourself. The student admitted these hypocritical Christians basically turned her into an agnostic activist, but that's when the preacher hit her with some facts that completely flipped the script.
Me and my sister, I was literally at first I was like, some of these people are fake as hell, but I want it, but I still...
All right, let me ask you something. What is the demographic in the world that has the highest percentage of Christians? The demographic in the world that has the highest percentage of Christians?
I would say probably America, but
No,
that number is...
Not even close.
Which one is it?
The demographic that has the highest percentage of Christians in the world.
The preacher revealed that the demographic with the highest percentage of Christians worldwide is women of color, and in the United States, it's black women. He cited Rebecca McLaughlin, who went to Oxford and Cambridge, and a sociology professor from the University of Connecticut. But the student wasn't done making a fool of herself. She tried to counter statistics about teen pregnancy and divorce rates in conservative evangelical communities.
Those are the demographics.
I have a quick question. What kind of community has the highest amount rates of teen pregnancy? What demographic has the highest rates of divorce?
I don't know. Tell me.
conservative evangelicals, I've noticed like a lot of people, like, yeah, divorce is so taboo, but a lot of people still do it anyways because it's like
The preacher's response was perfect.
disgusting. Like,
So does that tell you anything about Jesus Christ, or does that tell you a lot about those people?
those people, maybe not. We all can't be Jesus. I'm like, trust me. If I said I'm perfect, I'm this, I'd be lying. If I said, oh, I have it. Oh, I'm a righteous. I'm a virgin. I've never had sex. I would be lying. I would obviously be lying.
So what's your point?
He made it clear that people's failures don't reflect on Christ himself. Then came the moment that revealed this student's true character. She started ranting about how Christians treat non-believers like animals and complained about people coming to their inclusive community campus. The preacher called her out for applying generalizations, and she backtracked saying he wasn't that bad.
So what are you talking about?
I mean, you're not even that. Not as that. I'm still getting that energy of you all are sluts and whores and what the
All right, and I still love you and respect you, so what's your point?
I mean, the point is, we are a Texas state, we are an inclusive community, and we're tired of people that are claiming to be, that people coming to our campus, they're all like, we're all like, oh.
Well, have I said that to you?
I mean, no, but you're
Sure, thank you.
I mean, you're lying it.
But here's where it got really ugly. 9:52 to 11:11. When discussing why African Americans would believe in Jesus despite historical mistreatment, someone in the crowd shouted brainwashed. The preacher immediately confronted this, asking a black student named Trey if he was brainwashed. Trey said no, obviously. Then this white female student doubled down on racism. The preacher called her out and her response was disgusting.
Did I hear you say brainwash?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of the.
Whoa, time out.
It's because a lot
No. This woman said brainwash. Trey, are you brainwashed?
Of course he's not gonna. Nobody who's brainwashed is gonna say yes. I'm being brainwashed. That's exactly what it is.
Let me see. Do you know Trey?
I don't know.
No.
Well, then why would you ever say what you just said? That a man who you don't know is brainwashed. Why would you ever be so judgmental?
She claimed all Christians use scare tactics about hell, basically calling every believer brainwashed. She even said she'd rather go to hell honestly, sounds way more fun. That's when the preacher delivered the knockout blow.
Any Christian is brainwashed.
Really? Any Christian's brainwashed.
Tactics.
Okay.
Sir,
Good.
You use scare tactics. We're burned in hell forever. We'll be separated from everyone we love. It's scare tactics.
Hell, I'd rather
being
go.
brainwashed.
I'd rather go to hell, honestly. Sounds way more spending like being bored as and be like, where's the heaven party?
All right, you and I should make a deal. You and I make a deal. You just put your faith in Christ, and throughout heaven and eternity, you won't have to see me, okay? I'll stay at the other side of heaven, okay? So you don't have to mess with me, okay?
No promise.
So just put your faith in Christ and go to heaven, okay? But it's gonna be a lot better than the alternative.
The student tried to backtrack, claiming that the preacher had turned a simple argument into a racist point, but the damage was done. She'd revealed herself as exactly the kind of judgmental person she claimed to oppose. The preacher finished with a reality check about hell not being a scare tactic, but reality, comparing it to warning someone not to play in traffic.
Wow. Where are you getting off? That's incredible. That is so judgmental. I think that you bought into, and if I'm not mistaken, have there been any professors who have influenced that thinking?
Because you use scare tactics.
Scare tactics?
Yes, we've already.
Has anybody scared you into believing in Jesus? Okay. Nobody's scared Trey, and I can promise you nobody's scared me into believing in Jesus. And I can promise you, every African-American member of the church that I pastor up in Connecticut, none of them had been scared into believing in Jesus. And I can promise you, when I went to Haiti, my friends in Haiti were not scared into believing in Jesus.
And the list goes on and on and on. This next video is a take-home video, a gift from me to you. And like I always say, if you have anything you'd like to add to our content, you could always leave it in the comments section. Let's go.
No, I can't. Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
What do you define a woman as?
An adult human female.
And what does a female mean?
Well, that's
how do you define a female?
someone with female reproductive organs.
Okay.
Someone who's, here's the thing, when you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies, we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they were because it's ingrained in every.
This conversation centers on a heated debate over the definition of woman and the implications of gender identity. This guy asserts a strictly biological definition, stating that a woman is an adult human female, and the biological sex, determined by reproductive organs, DNA, and skeletal structure, cannot be changed.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not
But
myself.
you used the word, so what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right. So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term. It includes people
that describes what?
People who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
What is that?
Was to each their own.
They argue that gender identity ideology, particularly from the left, avoids providing a clear definition of what a woman is. The opposing speaker challenges this view, saying that womanhood is a diverse and personal experience that cannot be universally defined. They claim not to define womanhood themselves because they do not identify as a woman, and instead describe it as an umbrella term that varies by individual identity and lived experience.
Each woman, each man, each person is going to have a different relation with their own gender identity and define it differently. And so trans women are women too.
Okay.
And you want to hold on.
Trans women are women. Listen, won't even tell me what the word means, though. So
you
that's
want to
the
reduce
problem.
women. You want to reduce men down to maybe just their genetics, our genitals, our chromosomes, right? That's what you're saying.
You want to do is
that's what
what you want to do is appropriate women. You want to appropriate womanhood.
Okay.
And turn it into basically a costume that can be worn. We've got when we've. It's real funny. It's real funny. It's real funny when you're.
Should look like. As a man, you're literally saying this is what a woman is.
Yeah. Well,
Isn't that a little
sexist? Because I am willing to define it, but you won't.
Tensions rise as this guy accuses the other of reducing womanhood to subjective feelings and appropriating the concept of being a woman. We've come to the end of this video. Like, subscribe, and make sure you get my next video. Until then, bye.